Hello everybody, this is Noah. Today we're going to be doing a quick video on this new CPU cooler I got. This is the ID Cooling SE-224 XT, and I got mine in black because I wanted to just kind of fit my build a little bit more. It does come in the color white with a ARGB fan that you can control through your motherboard or software, and it also comes in just like a standard, I think it's silver and copper with like a standard color fan. Not really that appealing to me, but there are a couple reasons I wanted this particular cooler. I currently have in my build an AMD 5600X, and that is cooled by the Wraith Stealth, and I wanted to improve temperatures on that, so I decided to switch to this. I was trying to keep the budget under $30, and this comes in right at $29.99, so it was a perfect pick for me. It really came down to, for me, between this cooler and the Cryorig M7A. And the reason I ultimately went with this cooler is because the Cryorig, it had silver and black color scheme, and it had a smaller fan. So for $5 more, I'm getting a bigger fan, and I'm getting that all black color scheme that I'm hoping blends with my build a little bit better, and you'll get to see how it looks in the build, and I will give you a temperature comparison between the Wraith Stealth and the ID Cooling later on in the video. It's not going to be super professional. I just have it in my room at, I would say, around 30 degrees Celsius on the high end, and I'm going to give a temperature comparison of the two so you can help gauge if this is an adequate upgrade for your case. So let's get into it. First up, we got the installation guide. Let's set that aside. Next up, we have the fan. It's separate in a bag. We have an accessory kit. This is going to be all the mounting stuff, which actually I'll get into this in a second. And finally, we got the cooler itself. So this thing looks actually really good in black. I love the look of this thing. It is very stealthy and sleek. Got a little warning sticker to remove there before we install it. And that's it for the box. So let's get into the accessory kit. So inside here, we got quite a few things actually. We have, this would be Intel mounting bracket. And what we have here is a couple of AMD mounting brackets. The Intel bracket is for LGA 115X, so you have to check for that compatibility with your chipset. It includes 4 of these fan clips to affix the fan to this, which is really nice because if you want to buy a second fan, you can make this a push-pull instead of just a push or pull, which is cool. They include that. You can easily upgrade to a dual fan later on if you want to improve temps a little bit more even. You have some standard standoffs here, and spacers, screws, and thumb screws, it looks like. Alright, so installing this thing is pretty simple. You just want to slip the metal fan brackets through the top holes right here like so. And then just put that off to the side for now, basically. All of the AMD mounting parts are in one of the bags, and all the Intel is in the other bag. So what you need basically is these 4 plastic risers, these 4 long screws, and the angled brackets if you're installing on the AMD build. And so you will also actually be using the back plate that comes with your motherboard. So I have the MSI B550 Gaming Edge Wi-Fi motherboard, and it came pre-installed with the quick release brackets and the back plate installed already. So I removed the quick release brackets to install my Wraith Stealth. So I'm actually going to remove the Wraith Stealth and then put these screws, each one through the riser here. Well, actually, you're going to take these screws and push it through like this, push the riser through like that, and then screw this down into the back plate that comes with the motherboard. And from there, once you have all 4 of those installed, you're going to remove this sticker here, and then use your thermal paste of choice. I'm using some leftover CryoRig thermal paste from a previous build. And then you can simply apply the thermal paste to the CPU or the face here, and then you just simply sit it there and screw in the 2 screws here to these 2 mounting posts right here. And one thing you want to make sure for this orientation, you want to get this correct, is they look like they're supposed to go like this, but they do not. The instructions say that it is supposed to mount like this. So this is what you would see if you were looking directly at the motherboard. So let's get that installed and take a look. Alright everybody, so what we're looking at right now is my old Ryzen Wraith Stealth CPU cooler, and we're going to get that removed, keep the back plate on there, and get this new mounting hardware on here so that we can install our new cooling tower, and then I will show you how to clip that fan on and plug that in. Alright everybody, sorry for the audio quality. First of all, the computer's off, so I don't have a way to record it. But basically, I removed the Wraith Stealth. One thing you definitely want to keep in mind with really removing any type of CPU cooler is when you have it on there for a while, it will heat and cool down the thermal paste continuously, and so it can make it sticky, and that will make it difficult to remove. So number one thing you don't want to do when you're removing an old CPU cooler is just pull it straight off. If you pull it straight off, you could pull the CPU out of the socket. These Ryzen sockets are designed to let the CPU bust out of the socket if you pull the CPU cooler too hard. So generally that reduces the damage you might do, but if you pull it out of the socket and you aren't completely straight out, sometimes you can bend or even break off the pins on your CPU, and you definitely don't want to do that. So a trick you can do to remove it is when it's in the socket and once you have all 4 screws unscrewed, you just kind of rock it side to side and just kind of like put a little bit more force into each rock as you go, and you just kind of want to twist it and pull a little bit out, but more of the force should be done to the twisting to kind of break that suction with the thermal paste. And so I was able to break that suction pretty easily and pull it off without any damage. CPU definitely did not come out of the socket, so that's good. And then I applied a new pea-sized amount of thermal paste to work with this new cooler. And then getting these on were pretty easy. You might want to have somebody help you if you need an extra set of hands. Basically, you just have to have that back plate held in place. I used a piece of tape, electrical tape anyways, and then you can feed the screw through the metal bracket and then fit the spacer to the other side, and then begin screwing that first screw. And once you get one of them in, it's pretty easy because the back plate will stay in place after you get that first one screwed down. And for the next ones, they have a little nub on the spacer, so you can just set them into the little slot that comes through for the back plate, and that way they can stay in place and you can slide these over it and screw the second screw down. And then you just want to make sure the it looks like parentheses with the Ryzen in the middle. See how it curves outwards from the center? You don't want them curved inwards because it won't fit if you do that. So what we're going to do is we are going to remove the sticker here. And as some other reviewers have mentioned, this this particular CPU heat spreader, or this heatsink, is really well machined. You can see that there is like no gaps anywhere. It's like very flush, which is really good for thermal separation and making sure you get all that heat dissipated to the heat sinks. So that was, I'd say, very good design on ID Cooling's part. So to get this in here, we're just going to fit it straight on, and we're going to screw it down just using my Phillips screwdriver here. The trickiest part here is lining up those 2 screws. The first one's pretty easy to get on, but then you kind of have to like rotate it and move it about to get the heatsink directly centered on the bracket here. But we're going to tighten both these down now that I have both the screws on, and a good practice would be to just do a couple turns each side and trade off between the two, And then this part is pretty easy, I'd say. You're going to take your fan with the clips on it from earlier, and then you kind of can have the wire anywhere since it's a square fan. And I'm going to rest it into place the first part here, make sure that clips down, and then I'm going to clip into place the second clip at the bottom. And you just want to kind of make sure that both of those snap into position. So, I have it successfully mounted now. The total time, I would say, is about 10 minutes to install. And we have the cooler installed. It's spinning correctly, and it's fully functional. Well, if you hadn't already seen this coming, you would be in my position. This cooler doesn't fit in my case, so that's really unfortunate. I'm going to be getting a different cooler, and I'll be doing a review of that one. Unfortunately, I'm going to return this one. It had said that it would fit inside my case on PC Part Picker, and I checked the dimensions, and it's 154 millimeters in dimension, and this case is supposed to fit 155 millimeters, but it's obvious that somebody messed up in the dimensioning, so that's unfortunate for me. I will give the temps now, though, so that at least you guys have that and can make an informed decision on whether or not you want the cooler. But definitely do not buy this cooler if you have the Lian Li 011 dynamic case, because it will not fit. Like, it does not fit in mine. You can't actually put the glass panel on it, so that sucks. Anyways, the temps I was getting before, I was getting with the Wraith Stealth about mid-50s to 60s. And that would be the idle temperature. And then with this case, if I played Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, I'd be getting around 70 to 80 degrees Celsius temps. So with this cooler, in fact, I am getting about low 40s, like 40 to 45 degrees Celsius idle. And during Battlefront 2, it never broke 70 degrees. It was mostly mid-60s. In temperature, but again, I couldn't test that with the front glass, so the temperatures may improve even more, because right now, in this case at least, there are the 3 fans in the back here that are pumping in cold air, but instead of them bouncing off of the front plate and going left, they're just going straight out of the case. So there's all this cold air that's actually not even reaching the CPU cooler, and I imagine that it's going to do a lot better with that panel closed, but unfortunately I can't do that test because I can't get the panel on. So I would say that low 40s to maybe high 30s would be an expected idle temperature with this CPU in a normal case with good airflow, but I would say probably mid 60s to low 60s for intense gaming in this case, or I should say with this cooler. Which is really good. It's doing its cooling job effectively, and for under $30, it's a really good performer. Even though I'm losing all of this cold airflow without this front panel, it still does an exceptional job of keeping the CPU cool. But yeah, it's really unfortunate that this doesn't work with my case, because I really do like the design of this cooler, and I liked the price point. So what I'll probably be doing now is going with the Cryorig M9A, which is a 92mm fan as opposed to this 120mm, and that one should for certain fit inside this case. Literally, the amount of space needed for it to fit inside this case is a couple millimeters. So even though it said is 154mm, if it was 153 or 152, it still wouldn't have fit with this motherboard and this case. So that's unfortunate. Check your dimensions beforehand. And I would say, after this experience, I wouldn't go and cut anything that's closer than a centimeter, because I kind of got screwed here. So, great cooler. The temperatures are awesome, and it performs well. It looks awesome. Just not to be paired with this Lian Li 011 dynamic case. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys learned something. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll see you guys in my next video.